Rich Carlton here. Welcome to another awesome day of FileMaker training. I'm going to press the button here, and there's Jacob Taylor as well.
Welcome.
Two highly, well, he's actually much more talented than I am. I'm just more persistently obnoxious than Jacob is. So that's us. Welcome to another awesome day of FileMaker training. I want to confirm that everyone can hear us on the various live streams and things like that. We have Discord going, we got YouTube going, we got Twitch going. So if you have questions today about the FileMaker platform in terms of the server side of it, cloud or server side, we'll be happy to address that. I also have that cloud. You want me to cover that cloud IT stuff that Claris gave us a little bit? We could talk about that today.
Sure.
That would
Yeah.
make sense a little bit. Yeah. Cool. So I'm over here watching. So if you see me looking kind of like this way, I really should reverse my screen. So let me do that. So now I'm over here. And if I look this way, it's consistent. I'm looking at the monitors over here away from Jacob. That's me looking at your comments, if that makes any sense. So we got Twitch. Feel free to say hi. I have questions. We did have one question up front. And so I guess real quick, just for the sake of being clear, why don't you tell us what the current versions of FileMaker Server are at this time, Jacob Taylor?
Sure. So if you're fully up to date on server, you're going to be on 19.4.2. I think the number might differ per platform the last little bit, but it's 19.4.2 is the current shipping version. That's also true of Pro. The only place where that's not true is FileMaker Cloud 2, which has a 19.4.3 available. We got an email about that. It fixes some issue that's specific to Cloud 2.
And so there was a question today, because we've talked about this before. What are the strategies for upgrading, right? I mean, in terms of upgrading your server, do you just install a new server? Can you install the updater over the old one? What is our current, because Ed was asking the question. I talked to Ed a little bit about it, but we wanted to save it for the live stream. So what is the topic today? I mean, what's your recommendation? Someone needs to upgrade.
Yeah, so if you're doing I think we did a stream on this actually, which was about the considerations for doing this, but if you're doing a long distance upgrade, that's like 17, 16, 15, Lord help you if you're on 14, 13, 12, etc. That's going to be a clean install. The database format won't change. You'll still be on an FMP 12. So there isn't that sort of consideration, but you will not be able to use an upgrader, an upgrader installer or anything like that. And so from the software perspective, it will at least be a clean installation, and very likely it'll be a new computer for some definition of new computer. If that's a new virtual machine, new physical hardware, that sort of thing. You'll have to check the operating systems when you do that. If it's we'll say a shorter distance upgrade. So let's say you've got like 18.3, 18 VRev 3, and you're like, hey, 19's starting to sound good. Like let's talk about that. I have not had significant issues, or indeed any issues at this point so far anyway, upgrading directly to 19.4.2. However, as always, because previously we've not recommended the upgraders because, it can barbecue the server. And actually, I even got burned last fall on one of those, in fact.
It wasn't that long ago, right? You were really big on the upgrades, and suddenly it corkscrewed and blew up. So
and it was because the 19.2 upgrader worked really well, and then the 19.3, I don't know, we'll say had a couple bugs in it or something. The upgrader didn't work as well, and totally barbecued a customer server that I was trying to upgrade, and it required the full rebuild of the server. I don't mean uninstall FileMaker, just
new
take
operating
everything off
system,
and put it back on again. I had to reset. I had to hard reset IIS. It wouldn't work. Yeah. You had to take the feature off of Windows so that it nukes everything, and then do all the reboots. And anyway, it was not fun. So, but in general, specifically with 19.4.2, which is the current shipping version of the product, I've not had significant upgrade issues. So I actually did this morning to a client, and they had it's a common issue. They're not super common, but common enough that we have a kind of the steps how you fix it. Where there's a helper process for FileMaker Server that runs all the other stuff. It boots up, right, FileMaker Server and WebDirect and all the data API, whatever that stuff that you've got turned on. And importantly, also it handles logging. And that means when it goes down, like the rest of the server may continue to work, but you have no logs, so we have no idea what the server's doing. And so in that scenario, you basically have to take the server down, like basically crash it because you don't have control over the software, restore from a backup, and bring it back up again. And so because the client software was out of date, they were on 19.1, which they haven't had issues with previously, but hey, they had one today, so it's time. I asked them, hey, it's usually this just goes, there's no issue with it. Would you like me to try? And they said yes. And so I said, great. And we did an upgrade this morning, and that took about 10 minutes. There's not a huge number of considerations for it. Please, you should talk to me first before you do that. The reason I say that is because there are considerations even within 19. So while I say the upgrader works, as in it doesn't destroy the installation so far that I've seen, obviously I'm going to say this and then eat my words like Monday or something, but so it will work. In other words, it will bring the software up to the new version. However, there are considerations outside of that when using an upgrader. For example, as of 19.2, 19.3, I apologize, I don't know which of those two versions, Claris began recommending that we use Java 11 for Web Presentation Engine underlying WebDirect. And so part of the upgrade is also doing that. And if you miss that,
and we're using Credo for that, correct? That's our Credo recommendation.
Yep.
Yeah. So, all right, cool. So that kind of loosely answers it, right? So you can, if you want to talk to Jacob, I would. If you want to do the backup and wing it and pray for the best, then make sure you copious backups of that drive, that server.
Yeah.
And have a plan in place that if it fails, what is your plan? It's always expect it to.
You love it. It's this is the thing about it. The upgrader is awesome. We'll say when it works, because when it works, you go onto your server, you shut everything down, you go run the install, or you go run the installer, and it goes, oh yeah, there's a FileMaker on here already. Let me just bring that up. Cool. And hey, that takes 10, 15 minutes, and you don't have to do a whole heck of a lot. It kind of mostly manages it for you. If you go with really old versions, there's some implications because there's some features that are missing back then. But I've found it to be fairly safe, 18 and 19 upgrades. But as always, if it fails, if you get a server afterwards that just does not work, you have to clean, strip, and reinstall everything, or use if you have a full machine backup, an image or something like that, you're going to end up rolling back. So now whichever one of those is better for you.
Now, I think there was, so are there specific upgrade instructions from Claris? Because then the last time we did this, there was a command line that I ran to make sure everything was shut down. There was some sort of extra step I did. It wasn't just double click and go for it. It was. Remember, there was a command line.
I actually don't know the answer to whether they have official. So I've seen a document like that, so they may actually have official directions. The command line that you ran is because, and that's why I say you have to shut everything down. That is a more friendly way to say you need to stop FileMaker Server. What you ran on that was a Mac server that you were upgrading.
Server, yep.
Is you have to use the sudo launchctl stop commands to make sure FileMaker Server is shut completely.
Where are those documented? I know you're verbally saying this, but if we wanted to look on your computer or show your screen or something, where would those actually even be at?
At Claris support. That's where I go. Let's see if we can get.
Do you want to show your screen, or is your screen sufficiently bogarted?
Let me do. No, I got one clean screen.
Well, Jacob's a kid that has 150 windows open at one time, kind of stuff. Engineering blog.
So this is the engineering blog. I always recommend checking this. There are is it update? Update. Ooh, I see it right there. There's this is the one that I'm looking for. So FileMaker Server. Yep. So upgrade steps.
Let me move that out of the way.
Da-da-da. I'm just scanning this to see if it. Wow. That's fairly complete, actually. Yeah. Not. This assumes that the upgrader will handle it for you, which I don't know. Yeah, you're trusting Claris with that. Like I said, it usually works, but
Yeah, well, it's the we have that. Oh, stop. To stop. See the stopping. Okay, this is the.
That's what you're thinking of. Yeah.
Click,
So this
click
page. Let's see. Ooh, it's current docs. Nice. So this gives you. Does it say different from Mac or Windows, or is it just?
I don't see the command line in here at all.
So stop database, start the database.
I don't see.
Oh, I love this. This is perfect. This is not.
It's not what we.
This isn't what you want. Yeah, that's really. So here's here's the, which is not. That's not also not what you want. Because one, this should be way up at the top and loud, but two, there's the old. Maybe it's just. Oh, it's a sub thing over here. Okay, found it. There's starting or stopping services on Windows, Mac, and Linux.
So do the
That's
Mac
what you
one. Do the Mac one. Do the Mac one. See if that fits in there that we were looking for.
It should be right up at. Yeah. Okay. Cool. Yeah. Perfect.
Sudo launch stop. Is that what? Is this what
CTL stop or
is this what I did right here?
Okay. Yes, it is.
Okay.
Yep.
So yeah, so for those of you wondering about this stuff, the essential links were the Claris Engineering blog, and then if we backtrack to that page right there.
Yeah, let me grab. I'll put all the links in Discord.
Let's put the links
Discord.
in there. Yeah.
There's the Claris Engineering blog link. You want that one. The specific one, if you're going to go do updates.
Upgrades. Server upgrades. Yep. Okay, and then the last one.
Starting or stopping?
Yeah, was starting or stopping the process, right? Because you got to make sure it's fully stopped before you run the update. There you folks go. I'm going to put these over in YouTube, etc.
You go. Yeah. So just overview the basic directions. If you don't have any plugins, don't have any major considerations with FileMaker Server, don't, if it's just, you got Pro and Go talking to it or something like that, nothing super interesting going on, then for the most part, you close all your databases, you shut the server software down, you stop the service, which is going to be one of these starting or stopping the FileMaker service, Windows, Mac, or Linux. You're going to do one of those three, and then do the upgrade. On Windows and Mac, that's pretty straightforward because you're just double clicking and it'll migrate all the stuff for you and for the most part handle it. And if that works, then it'll get all the way to the end and say, hey, you're good to go. You should reboot now. And you're going to say yes, absolutely, every time. Don't wait. And then, yeah, theoretically, it comes back up again afterwards as you left it, but with a newer version. That's the ideal. As always with server upgrades, you need to consider all of the features that you're using, because some of them change, some of them have differing requirements in later versions. The easiest example is you've been using a copy of 360works email plugin for like a really long time, and it's worked great for all of that long time, and you're going to 19.4, I can almost guarantee it won't load. It will error out because there are code signing requirements and other sort of changes like that, where the code might still work, but FileMaker Server is not going to load it for you.
Well, what about, and that also gets back, that's also Christian Schmidt just checked in with us on Discord, but the same thing for Monkey Bread, right? Monkey Bread
correct.
On the server?
Yep. His stuff mostly just continues to work, actually. However, specifically with code signing requirements, you'd have to get a newer version than whichever version when he started doing that. I assume he was probably ahead of it, enrolling, ahead of everybody else and rolling that out. But there will, at some distance in the past of when you first set up your FileMaker server, assuming you didn't update it since or something like that, there will be some consideration of updating code signing for years long before FileMaker needed it. Awesome. So yeah, so MBS may just come up. You should still update it anyway, though. Any of your plugins, if you do a server upgrade, just do it. Most of the plugins at this point have stopped like renaming all their commands, which will break your scripts, right? Which is why people would like to avoid updating sometimes, because then they have to go, repick commands and all through their app, and that's like terrible. They hate it,
Yeah.
and reasonably so.
All right, yeah. So Christian Schmidt says he's been code signing it with for a long time, long before Claire's needed it. So that's good. Thank you for being proactive. So Ken says, got my question answered via email, but maybe Jacob wants to address it for everyone. So your question was about some sort of SSL shenanigans, Ken?
Yeah, he was having some SSL issues. So there's a couple things, and it's actually a good thing to cover because lots of people, I don't know, have his specific issue if it was maybe network funkiness or something like that. But part of what he like tried to solve it, and I think it was actually ultimately it worked, at least on a temporary basis. But one of the things that people run into is they go open up Pro or Go. Let's say you get a new server, right? And you're coming up to 19. All right, cool. We're going to set everything back up again. Some of the stuff will be brought over, but not all of it. So you go in and maybe update your host, right? And you're going to add a new host address or something like that. And back in the day, a lot of people just used to put the server's IP address in. And if you have a like an in-office server on a LAN, you may still do that. In fact, whether or not you install an SSL certificate in it, right? So. But you may also know that will never give you the green lock because you've put the IP address in. And FileMaker, at a certain level, complains about that. And so, and that like the security checks and stuff like that have
You want to bring that up on a
time.
copy of Pro real quick, or you want me to do that? Or
I think I can do that, yeah. Let's see. Need the plus. All right, there's our... Oh, and of course it works probably because I have an override. But if do I have to kill my FileMaker to demonstrate that? Probably. Is it going to give me the little...
You should get the yellow.
It did not. I love it. It's not demonstrating it for me. This is perfect.
So
that's supposed to be orange.
What we're trying to do is demonstrate this right here. Right, so the green lock means the SSL is correct, and you just did it incorrectly. And why is it getting green? Do you have to?
Probably because I have an override for 4 or something. Hold on, let me do. So here we're gonna go through all the stuff. So I don't. Yeah, there it is. Okay, there you go. So all right, so let's clear all. We'll hit OK. I'm gonna close. That's in your preferences, by the way. If you've ever overridden bad SSL settings, it'll have an entry in there that's if it's the address or the IP, and then the port combo as well. There we go. Come on, FileMaker. There you go. All right. Hosts. Let's go to hosts. Let's do the IP. It's still not complaining. I love that. Is it going to give me orange? Nope, still giving me green.
Is it something that's set on the?
That's really funny.
You have to did you quit FileMaker, or did you just did you quit it all the way?
Oh, I did not know. I'm not.
Oh, it probably read those preferences in on start, so you have to quit.
Yeah, I got like 17 windows open. Anyway, so but the basic issue is if you put the IP directly in to as your host or something, that's not the domain name. And if you're doing SSL validation, SSL validates off the domain name, not the IP address. Yeah. So it will probably let you, in a technical sense, your data is encrypted. That's actually correct. But it is not authenticated, which is the other part of the green lock that. Or
it means that they think you are the legitimate server and it's not someone pretending to be you, right?
So, correct. Yeah. And yeah. So in web browsers, it's actually, so FileMaker is like the old interface because it still has the green lock and the colors and stuff. They've gotten away from this in web browsers. And if any of you remember, it's not that far back in the day, but somewhat. Internet Explorer specifically, way back when, used to, for example, if you got an extended validation SSL certificate, which is what it sounds like, it's a lot of money and time and paperwork and stuff, but you get your company name in it. You come over here and you've got like a big box on the side that says, RCC, blah, 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 Inc., right? And so on older versions of Internet Explorer, it would actually make the entire address bar green, like it glowed. This was meant back then to be a trust building exercise, because you're going to go, for example, I'm going to Amazon and I want to buy something. And you've got this big green glowing bar that's like, yo, this is safe. We're good to go. That was the idea behind it. So as it turns out, that doesn't actually communicate the security information that you think it does, because all of us are highly technical. Anyone on this call is highly technical, even if you don't think you are. And you are not the people that are joining the internet fresh, who will never have a desktop computer, and all computing will be done on their Android phone. So so those the green glowing and the security, the lock thing, they don't communicate the same thing to everybody. And so web browsers, Chrome especially, has been moving away from this, and so they just stick with the lock now. But that said, that's what that's meant to show is there's two things that glowing green bar was communicating to you. I use that old example because it's a really good one. It shows both sides of it. One, the connection is encrypted. That's what the lock and all the, oh, it's green, it's secure, we're good to go. Like, that's what that's meant to communicate. But also, it used to show like the company name in the box to be like, if you're on Amazon.com, it'd be like Amazon Inc. or whatever, right? Or if it was RCC, it'd be RC Consulting Inc. Great. Like, it shows that right in the bar to say, yes, you're not only does it look like you're talking to the right person, you can look and see, I'm talking to this is that company's server, 100%. We know it was validated by a third party. They commit to that statement being true. So that's the other part of what an SSL certificate gives you. So when you're matching up, your company's server, the FileMaker server address, there's two things that are going into that, which is the connection encrypted, yes or no? And then has, in this case, a trusted third party validated that server is who it says it is, yes or no? And so if you have both of those, you get the lock, or the green. In FileMaker Pro, it'd be the green lock. But that's based off the actual name, the DNS name, the FileMaker Server.yourcompanydomain.com address. And so if you put the IP in, while you think of those things as the same, they're not. And so FileMaker will look at the IP and try and do a little string match on the SSL certificate has its own name plugged into it, right? Your company's domain.com. And so it'll look at the IP and look at that text string of the name and go, these don't match. There's a problem here. So that's a very long-winded explanation, but
no, it's good stuff that people need to know, right? So questions about Jacob, or about Jacob? Yeah, Jacob, how are you? And are you great?
Yes, how am I doing? I'm doing great. How's how have you been, Richard?
Yeah, I've been really wonderful today. Yes, thank you. So yeah, no, it's a good team we have at RCC. Jacob's an important part of that. Basically, the director of our, I don't want to say technical services. What would you say? You like to call yourself the head of IT, but really no one uses that. You're basically the director of that.
I made up my title, head of IT and server engineering, which kind of covers maybe half of what I do.
Yeah.
It's like, I don't know, all the like technical support services, back end.
Mm-hmm.
I do all the server stuff. We do all the backups. Speaking of which,
although we all trying to hire a person to help you with that, right? Yes,
mm-hmm.
to become the next Jacob.
I'm stoked. We're going to have more bandwidth for additional servers.
Yes, that would be great. Oh, let's talk about Claire's little thingy real quick. So that will sponsor.
Oh, their IT, yes.
Yeah, so Claris did this thing, which was kind of, they're like, it's kind of a funny thing with these guys, right? So I'll let everyone evaluate it for what it is. I think it's solid. They're like, hey, would this be valuable? And I wanted to no, it's never valuable whenever you put something useful together, right? It's like, why asking dumb questions? So they sent this kit out to the partner. So if you pay Claris, a minimum yearly subscription of like $500 or whatever it is, you are a Claris partner, and then if you're even higher levels, you're a platinum partner, etc. So, but for everyone who pays them, whether you're any good or not, you get this little kit that came out. What this is it's an IT checklist kit. I'm going to move Jacob over here and put the kit kind of in the middle so you can still see Jacob's reaction. I'm going to make this a little smaller. There we go. And I'm going to zoom in so you can kind of read this stuff. So the idea is that Claris, what they want to do is empower their consultants and developers with some IT compliant Q&A, like pre-canned Q&A that like you're like if you're trying to get FileMaker introduced at some corporation, the IT people will be like, "Hey, f you, we're not letting you do that," and you have to have like the ammo for your rebuttal gun, right? You have a gun called Mr. Rebuttal, and whenever people say Claris sucks, right? Okay, well, what are you going to say about that? So this is kind of this document. So it talks about kind of these items that not necessarily end users care about, but the IT people care about, right? So it talks about security and privacy. Jacob, and there's links in here on this. So I can share all this stuff with you folks if you want, but it's also available to all the partners. I talked to Claris. They said I could share everything except the one PowerPoint presentation. This is like, so if you're talking to IT people, this is all your security stuff. So SOC 2, I don't even know what SOC 2 is. What is SOC 2, Jacob Taylor? Do you even know what that is?
I don't know.
Okay.
No idea.
So
it's some standardized audit system that enterprises care about, covers certain parts of security, availability, confidentiality.
Yeah. So they got ISO certifications. This means that you have a process.
Extremely fancy CYA. I don't know.
Yeah, exactly. Then this is the encryption stuff. This is, I don't know, it's a certification test currently. That has been a certification test previously. In fact, I don't think it is currently.
CBC mode specifically. Which they don't have there.
Yeah. So then you've got the SSL stuff like that. Then we talk about authentication. We've talked about Active Directory, Open. We haven't really talked about Open Directory, because very few people actually use Open Directory. Then you got OAuth, identity providers, which is like Active Directory, kind of slightly differently, I guess. Multi-factor authentication, which is Jacob and I did this with the Azure, online Azure, so those recordings are available. And so this is all part of these are all links here. Some of these links are really kind of limited, right? So if I click on
yeah.
Oh,
their link is
it's like off.
Yeah, there you go.
It's not aligned properly, right?
Yep.
Did they do that Bitly? So that's their Bitly. They made a Bitly there.
There it is.
And so it goes funny. Here. So this is like your entire package of stuff, and you have secure. What page features. Is this?
It's a pricing page. That's the pricing page.
Well, key features from pricing, scalability, security.
I'm looking at the address bar. It's clear.
No, I know. It's just pricing, which is just kind of weird. I don't know if I've ever been to this page before. So integration, they talk about kind of the same stuff. So all this is like a pre-canned pile of stuff that you can, you should kind of more or less know this if you're going to go to battle with IT people. You could throw this at them and hope they would read it, but they would just probably circular file it, I guess what I would say. Then there's this automation integration. Of course, they throw out their Claris Connect thing. Then you got administration and monitoring, and so we're back to this Xavix conversation a little bit, but that's normally like really big companies. Are we playing with Xavix at Jacob Taylor at all?
Yeah, and then we got rid of it again.
And we got rid of it because we rolled our own, right? We did our own. Right?
Yeah, correct.
Yeah, yep. We rolled our own Xavix. We built our
Xavix own. Xavix is cool.
What is Xavix? Tell us what Xavix is. What is Xavix?
Xavix is neat. So it's actually pretty cool. So on a basic level, it will monitor computer software. I don't mean FileMaker. I just anything, it looks at stuff. It collects metrics on a regular basis and reports them back, just like that, to a central repository, some central server that stores all this stuff. So there's a couple different ways to do it. You can have your application report to Xavix, or you can have an agent on the machine, and the agent is just like a little software that collects up the details that you've told it to and then sends them back to the mothership. That's all. It's not it's not a huge thing, and it doesn't use up a lot of resources or anything else. So it sits there and like looks at FileMaker Server, and every minute or something grabs all the performance metrics and ships them back to the mothership. What is the mothership? The mothership is your Xavix collection server thing. What it does is it takes all those numbers coming in and stores them, and then you can do useful things with them. For example, collect them up and create reports, do fines, just like this thing. Yep.
Anyway, so why are we not using Xavix? Because Labo says Xavix is great. He loves Xavix.
It is. It's huge and heavy, and it honestly actually didn't work super well with FileMaker. Like the FileMaker data reporting, I don't mean like that, because it's not doing anything different than what we do, which is going in and looking at on Windows at least, right, it would be WMI, Windows Management Instrumentation, to collect the metrics for FileMaker Server and, ship them off on a schedule. That's basically what we're doing. We're not doing a different thing. It's just, if you look at this, it took me hours to get something working. Xavix is meant for big, like having a team of people to manage metrics collection. It's not, maybe it's changed in the last couple of years, I suppose. I'm always open to that. But I did not find it super easy to deal with like a few servers.
A few servers that we're dealing with, what, 100, 200 servers, something like that? That's
correct,
servers that we babysit,
yep.
or at least one.
Well, and when I was playing with it, I was just trying to get it running on, I think it was actually the West Coast development server at the time. And it was like hours spent getting to a point where some data would show up, and like that was cool, but then it was like every additional thing. So for example, like, right, metrics are cool, graphs are great. If nobody looks at them, it doesn't matter. If you can't alert somebody based on a weird metric or some kind of change, etc., like that you'd want to know about, like, right, like that stuff is not always easy to set up. All the way through to I'm receiving emails because my C drive is full. I had all kinds of trouble with it. I beat my head against it for a long time, and eventually did actually get something that was doing stuff, but it wasn't so straightforward. And so I ended up building a little collector. It's for our Windows servers only, actually, but it's essentially a little PowerShell script, and it probably collects about the same thing that they would, basic FileMaker server performance details and some basic Windows information like CPU usage, RAM, disk space, etc. That stuff's pretty easy to collect, and we actually ship that off to our FileMaker server through the data API. I use our data API wrapper, and then those just populate a little record inside my database. But those records, they come in with a key, and that key is attached to your server. So I can go to your server, and one of my tabs in my database is recent metric readings from your server. So if there's a problem, I can see it, and things turn colors, turn red or yellow or whatever.
So we made our own version to customize to the needs that we were seeing with our customers, basically.
Correct.
Right?
Yeah. Yep.
All right, cool. So that's kind of this question here. So it's like this information that helps you kind of, I don't know, kind of fight this battle to a degree, I guess. All right. Well, I don't have anything else. This was kind of like a brain dump for you folks. Unless you folks want to contribute to the conversation and jump in here and ask questions, we're going to be like rapidly
holler if you have server questions.
I
install servers mostly automatically, actually, via script. Yes.
Yeah, he has his own proprietary thing that he built, and it does server builds in seconds. But what happens is he has to customize it, and he's got the new thing in it is this because it builds the server and it builds the backup scheduling stuff, which is really awesome. And now the newest widget that he built about 30 minutes ago, which is the automated deflector shield, Starship deflector shields. So what happens is that it builds a backup, and the backup is locked for 30 days. This is kind of, and so what it is, it's essentially a ransomware deflector shield. And so it's not so much that you have a backup, but it's that even if you have credentials to the server, you can't delete the files or corrupt them or encode them or alter them in any way for 30 days, which means that if someone, say that RCC gets ransomwared, this evening. We're all off. Then we would have backups through this last week that we'd actually wipe the server down to its electrons. Gone. Build a new server, put FileMaker Server on there, and we would put a backup, because that's what we've talked about this during ransomware's attack. The first thing they do is go after your backups. What they're doing is, before you ever get hit, they're behind the scenes, like it's like Russian Spetsnaz behind the lines in Ukraine, investigating, causing problems, documenting target packages, stuff like that. So when the kicks off, they've already got a plan. Well, they're targeting your backups before you even know that they're after you. Before they attack your main server, they're going after your backups. So you can't just roll the backups. But if your backups have their own specific 30-day deflector shield that's independent, like independent power supply on a deflector shield, you can't touch it. No one can touch it. Not even you can touch it, right? Then they attack you. It's like, hey, well, yeah, this sucks, and we're going to be down for a day or something or whatever while we rebuild the server, or less. But then we have unhacked backups, right? And so we have 29 days to 30 days to pick from, right?
Yep.
So that's badass.
It'll be, it's 14 days is how long we're locking them for.
Are we doing 14? Is that what we're going to do? 14 days?
Yeah, we're doing 14 days of lock, and then the cleanup is at 30. So they won't be older than 30. But between the 14th day and the 30th day, those are unlocked. Not locked. That's it.
Okay. So 14 days, yeah. But most hack attempts, they.
Yeah. Well, with ransomware, they'll move faster than that.
Yeah.
I mean, threat actors will hang out in systems for months and stuff, but if they're not corrupting your backups, right, they're probably just stealing your data.
Right.
Not good.
Right.
Also.
Right.
But this is warding off a specific scenario, which is having a backup that cannot be encrypted, so that you have something to go back to. It's a safety mechanism.
So Christian Schmidt says, so when you hack RCC, you need to compromise stuff for 31 days. Yeah, you have to ensure you have to keep people from just rolling to a backup. So how do you roll the backups? You make their backups not available, which means you have to encrypt their backups, which means that you would have to encrypt the last 14 days wouldn't be encryptable. Right? So, and you can't encrypt the live file. If you encrypt the live file, it crashes FileMaker Server, right? Because FileMaker Server can't. So as soon as you drop the hammer on the live file,
that's how you'll know you got attacked.
That you know you're being attacked. The bad guys are coming across the border at you. So then you go back the last 14 days, but they couldn't tamper the last 14 days. For them to tamper the last 14 days, they have to be honest with you, they have to f up your live file and you not notice it for 14 days and have FileMaker Server still making backups for 14 days. So no one would be in the office for 14 days. So you Germans over there who take a whole month off, if they timed it right, they could do this to you because you're all off for a month. I mean, a whole month, right? And so, yeah, if you timed it, like here in the United States, the longest anyone's off at any of the tech companies is maybe 4 or 5 days, maybe. That's why Jesse Barnum made his little safety for 3 days. And I'm like, Jesse, that ain't nearly long enough. In fact, 14 days might not be enough. You might want a full 30 on that. But anyway, the point is it just makes it's the harder you make it for a thief to steal your stuff, they're going to go bother someone else. So if they don't bother me, maybe they'll bother some other FileMaker company instead of me, right? And so, because we're too hard of a target to hit, right? Because they realize that we're just going to race their be down for a day or half a day, race their rotate our security codes, and roll from the last backup. Okay, that's the whole point.
Yep.
Sounds like a session we need. We had this session.
Past tense.
We had this session.
That was a previous session.
Guys,
we presented this in advance of me actually building it.
Yeah, we had this session.
It's taken me a minute.
You know what? I guess I could do is I could always like just find a recording and then just play it like live and pretend like, hey, this is live. There it is. So we did ransomware on November. It was 3 days, November 18th, 19th, and 22nd of this last year, and it was all this stuff in much greater detail.
Yeah, go check it out on our live stream section
recordings.
of the player or whatever. Yeah.
So yeah, what we're doing is we're reporting to you real progress as we are. So the question, how this conversation started was, hey, how do you build your servers, automated or manually? And because we're doing a lot of fairly intricate, complex stuff with AWS, we've scripted it so it does it automatically. And the last thing we're adding to this automatic process is creating the ransomware lockbox thingy, right? Does that
Yep.
make sense?
Yep.
So that way
We're
you've
still
got a
working on the
backup.
name.
He doesn't want to use the word ransomware because Jacob doesn't want you folks calling him when your shit gets ransomware, right? Although if you're paying full
No,
freight for that, yeah.
it's because someone's gonna go look in their S3 or something and see,
Oh, see the
you
word
know,
ransomware?
my backup's ransomware or whatever,
And
and
they're going
like
to lose their mind. Yes. Okay. Yeah, we don't want that.
I
So
don't
I
want
told
to
them they
deal with
should
that.
use a
So,
lockbox, right? It was the whole lockbox routine. For those of you
yep.
guys remember the election from a long time ago, we're going to put the Social Security into a lockbox, and no one could get into the lockbox. And he was very condescending when he said it, and it was so funny that Saturday Night Live grabbed it. But yeah, the lockbox. Okay, that's fine. Ruben's got a question. For
Let's
some
see.
things, you have to do stuff local in FileMaker and not a file on the server. For instance, renaming your file and or add or name a database folder where you connect. Yeah, those two things, but those are not like normal things that people do
The
every day. That first statement is
Do
true.
you have to add it? I don't know why that would be required.
The first
So
question, are you talking the first
renaming the
one?
file, yes. Right. Renaming the
The
database, of course,
container
that you
is
have to take
locked.
it
I don't
down.
know why that is. It's locked. It's got a lock on it, Jacob. You can't do it when it's hosted.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, that's no true statement. He's got that correct. Question: is it okay for FileMaker Pro on your FileMaker Server? Do you recommend these actions? All right, so here's the deal.
Yes and yes.
It's it's uh, it's yes and yes now. Historically, it wasn't always yes and yes, and just keep in mind that FileMaker Pro has the same limitations and issues it has everywhere else. Just because it's on a server doesn't mean it's going to behave better. So say, for example, that your FileMaker Pro will randomly crash on your computer, so you put it on the server. It's whatever it's doing, it's probably going to randomly crash there too, which means you got to keep an eye on the server. When it crashes on the server, then you're going to stop that process and reopen it, I guess. I don't know. I wouldn't do any super heavy duty lifting with it, but some people do. They really do. And then
Hmm.
so it's like you have a non-server process running on a server, and if you blow that process up, and then you need to get it running again, and it won't restart. Say it does something funky with the OS, and the OS won't restart FileMaker Pro for some reason. Then you got to shut your server down and restart the whole server. So is that where you want a robot machine next to it, or do you actually want it on the server itself? If it's a limited sort of usage thing where you don't use it that often, like you're going to rename something, fine. But if it's going to be running continuously to process PDFs or something, that used to be a thing, Jacob, before in FileMaker Server 18 or 19, whenever they had the ability to print PDFs. You
Hmm.
couldn't print them from the server. So in order to print on the server side thing, you had to put a copy of Pro on the server and have Pro
And then run it
scan.
as a robot.
Yes. Yeah. And so they've gotten rid of that, but there's always going to be something you can't do that you want Pro to do. So
Yeah.
if it's on a robot on a machine next to it, they're like on the rack next to each other on the same network segment, so they're really fast. If the robot dies, you restart it, right? Our robot at RCC crashes every 3 days, 4 days. I don't know. It's frequent as hell. Why? I don't know. There's a memory leak in FileMaker. I don't have an answer for that. I just know that I don't want that on blowing up on my server, right? Wouldn't you agree, Jacob?
Hmm.
Cool. All right.
Yeah. We put Pro on most of our servers.
But we don't beat the out of it is the difference, right?
No, it's just there because some of our seniors like to go log in and do something, and they'll try and do some rocket surgery with imports or moving data between files or archiving or something like that. And it's like they're trying to move 5 million records or something and don't do that over the internet. And so they take it local and take backups and do all that kind of stuff. And
As
then
long as everything
take the
goes,
done version
it's
live.
like if it's like running an update on your server. As long as it all works out in the end, it's good.
Yep.
And if it doesn't, you got work to do. You're gonna have to restart the server. And in the case of updates, it's a wipe and a reinstall. Okay, cool. Yeah, the problem is we don't have an answer for the crash on the robot, right? FileMaker Server is not crashing every couple days. FileMaker Pro on a robot that runs every 2 or 3 minutes is crashing, or every 5 minutes is crashing. And it does a lot of emailing with plugins and like that. And so the JavaScript has a memory leak. Somewhere there's a memory leak. MBS compact memory. And we're not using Monkey Bread on that, I don't think. I think it's a 360works email plugin for that one.
Mm-hmm.
It also does some API action. It'll talk to Slack. So if there's an API leak somewhere, I just don't know. Jose Lopez Sanchez, I'm trying to schedule a script to run monthly, but it appears to only be scheduled once, weekly or daily. What's the best way to run a script monthly? Let's say the first of the month.
Let's see.
So
I don't know how to do a monthly schedule. That is probably possible via the admin API. But their interface has never made this easy to do.
You want to show your interface real quick for Jose?
Human scheduling. Yeah, humans like to do things like monthly, script that runs a report and emails it to me once a month. That's super normal. FileMaker I've never seen an interface that does that out of the box, which is really funny. There's lots. They can do weekly.
Yeah, this is what we need to look at here. So frequency once. Every 30 days, right?
But that's not monthly because you want
because you
could have of the month or something.
Yeah.
And there's no. They could have another type here that would give you something else down here, but and I've always found this this. If I have to go yell at engineering or something sometime, literally this interface is one of the things I'm going to yell at them for, because going to frequency daily and then expressing a daily frequency as between certain hours as how you get an hourly schedule is the most backwards thing.
Thing I'm
not even complaining about this admin console. This interface is nicer than the old one was. This scheduling mechanism just doesn't make any sense. So not to normal people. And like I said, it doesn't have options for frequency monthly, twice a month. There's a lot of businesses that would love a 2 times a month.
Yeah. Organdine says he hates a scheduler. And so Foxy Jack goes, it's a question. I don't know if it's a real question. How do you handle power outages on your servers? Well, we've moved all our servers up to Amazon. So how do we handle a power outage at Amazon?
It's the same way. One is we don't handle power outages because we don't have those. We're on Amazon. But for everybody that has on-site servers, I'm going to tell you to do 2 things. One is stop handling power outages and get a battery backup that is sufficient for your operational needs, because you shouldn't be handling power outages. You should have a battery backup for your business. Second is you are always, underline the word always, restoring from a backup. Always. So that is annoying, sorry, but that's also why you get the battery backup, because then you have to do it less often. Probably not never, but
but less.
I have to poke some of our customers with sticks because they go, oh, we just spent $3,000 on this on-site Windows blah 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 thing, licensing and all the rest plus all that. Okay, and then they have to have somebody on site to manage it, and then there's all this, and then there's all but when you get to I don't know, dropping maybe $500 on a battery backup or something like that that'll last several hours maybe. That's it's the straw that broke the camel's back, and it's okay, but that's more important than the extra horsepower that you gave the server that your users may or may not actually utilize. So because it keeps it up.
All right, so Ken Tooley, I think, had an off-topic question. I'm not sure where it went. I just have to say on these streams, the support was really upped my game, and support is up my game in development. Just feedback this week that my
oh, sweet.
Yeah, so his database project he's been working on is gaining attention nationwide in the hot air ballooning community. That's
he was demoing it last time I forget what we met for, but okay. He was showing it to me last time. It was pretty cool.
Cool. All right, so Lynn says that Jose, Skepta, have the script check to see if it's the first day. Yeah, you could do it that way. So Lynn points that out. What you do is you run it
The
every
daily at
day.
midnight. That's
You run it every day, and then if it's the first, it runs. Does that make
yep.
sense? So you write a script. Yeah, it's always the way to get around. It's just we're trying to figure out how to do it eloquently without a hack, and it's kind of a hack. Not a horrible hack. It's just so
No, that's perfectly fine. It's
yeah.
just
It's just like should we
and
should we be even doing that? Like why are we doing that?
I'll put it this way, like this scheduling interface is such a known like challenge to interact with. Right, it works for the most part. A couple things maybe it doesn't do eloquently or whatever, but it does it. I'll put it this way though. I am aware of several of our senior engineers that will do scheduled scripts on servers, and they don't schedule the individual script. They schedule the harness for the other scripts. And so there's one, and it's because they don't want to deal with scheduling a bunch of scripts on the server because it sucks because the interface is not that fun to play with. And so they will get one scheduled on like the minimum time period. So if that's you're only ever going to have things that run as often as hourly, then you schedule a single hourly script and have it do logic as to what should run and when.
Yeah.
Inside the script that's been kicked off on the server or whatever.
Well, that's what we do on the robot. So the robot runs every minute or so, and it determines if it's got a 5-minute thing or a 10 or 15 or once a day at 3 a.m, right? So.
Yep.
Because we deliberately defer any heavy lifting. It takes 30 minutes or an hour to run it like 2 or 3 in the morning. So,
yep.
All right. Well, that's it for today. Greatly appreciate it, everyone. Thank you. Yeah. So, maybe we should do a live stream on just the basics of server script scheduling or something. I don't know.
And stuff. Yeah.
Scheduling. I don't know. We'd have to come up with some interesting things to do with it besides backups. Right?
There's
we could verify.
Well, the one to demo would be things like doing and then I have to figure out what is the difference between specifically a verify schedule and that's the good one, right? So there's 3 different ways to express the same thing, and I don't know if they're different. So you have the verify this thing. Sorry, I should leave that so it's not confusing. So you have the verify schedule. This is that magic script that we talk about, right? This is the sys verify default all databases. It's off. We put it in every server because 19 supports it, but it's off by default because it closes the database, verifies them, and then opens them back up again. That's awesome, but the databases are closed. And so I'm not going to do that automatically on everybody's servers. But there's that. There's verify. Yeah. And then the third one is if you go onto a backup schedule. So let's see if I have any. Hopefully. Oh, yeah, we have some. Awesome. So if I go onto the weekly schedule, for example, there is
the checkbox for
verify. This is the same thing. And I don't are all of those right? Are all 3 of those the exact same operation? Is there any difference between them? I don't know the answer to that question actually.
You know what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut this video up and we'll send it to Clay and let him decide about it. Okay?
Yeah.
I'll do that.
That'd be cool.
We'll cut up this little piece. All right, cool. All right, everyone, that's it for today. Greatly appreciate it. We'll catch you Monday. Have a good one. See you. Got a report of an individual up here who may be a FileMaker license. Well, it's potentially expired. Look at the back of that car right there. Looks like the FileMaker license has expired. Sir, I need you to step out of the vehicle. Sir, step out of the vehicle. Sir!